Thompson, it would be nice if I could get a question in from time to time today.
So the deep dive study we're doing is George Thomson, who was the General Secretary of the National Federation of Sub-Postmasters. And I think it's fair to say that he's not particularly pleasant. But we'll watch this and see how he goes on.
Mr. Thomson, I want you to give full and frank answers today.
Yes.
But if we are going to finish today, I think could I ask you to keep your answers relatively short?
Well, I'm here to tell the truth, and I'm here to explain the background for everything as well.
I think George Thomson is beginning to show his true colours here, because he's already getting to be a bit combative by speaking to the KC in a bit of a disrespectful tone. And I don't think this will get better as we go along.
Asking the questions, and the question that I just asked you was, were you too close to the post office? And I think your answer to that is, no, I wasn't.
No, I went to the certification office. They said, look, you almost certainly shouldn't have been recognised as a trade union in the first place because you've always represented self-employed people rather than workers.
Thank you. Mr. Thomson, it would be nice if I could get a question in from time to time today.
So Julian Blake here says to Thomson, he'd like to get some questions in today sometime. He's trying to dominate the proceedings here. It's quite obvious, but he's not going to succeed.
So would that amount pay for your wife? Or where would that amount go, the $175,000?
No, my wife wasn't active in the Federation, so it would hardly pay for her. It's quite a strange question.
Strange question, eh? Well, all questions are legitimate in this inquiry. And if Thomson thinks it's strange, well, maybe that's because he's a little strange himself.
Who were Sue Barton and Nick Beale? Very briefly.
Post office officials that we dealt with on a regular basis. Sue was quite senior, Nick was less so. When I at first...
Thomson, I'm going to have to stop you there.
That's fine.
So Julian Blake has pulled him up again. He's saying, look, you know, basically what he's saying to him is just answer the question and stop babbling on like some kid who can't make up his mind what lucky bag to buy.
All we're addressing here is the finances, and all my question was at this time, the numbers of sub-postmasters was somewhat getting smaller. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree?
I'm giving you the reason why it's getting
I didn't
smaller.
ask for the reason. I just asked whether it was increasing or not.
It was decreasing, not increasing.
Tell you what, you know, this George Thomson, he must have been a right character to try and deal with as the General Secretary or whatever rank he held in the NFSP. Dear, I can't make him out, mate, I can tell you.
Very much.
Wasn't the world I wanted to be part of, right? So I'm being honest here. I'm here to be truthful. I'm not here to make friends. So I already had some concerns that some of my teeth had been pulled when we moved to the 15-year deal. Maybe another operator could do it. Maybe someone more compliant would do it. But I had decided that it wasn't for me, and I was going to move on. So even though I left 6 months early for family reasons, I'd already indicated. So everybody in the Federation knew I was leaving anyway, but I just left a bit quicker.
George Thomson says that he wasn't at the inquiry to make friends. Well, what a surprise. He's not going to make any with that sort of attitude. He also said something about having to leave the NFSP in a hurry. For some, I think he might have not gone quick enough.
Was not the case. So if you want a definitive, I can't give you a definitive, but logic would suggest that there was no significant systemic issues with Horizon.
You've used the word systemic. I haven't used the word systemic. Well, all I've asked is, concerns are being raised about how robust the Horizon system was. Is it beyond comprehension that it wasn't just screen freezes, that there may have been other technical issues that you weren't aware of?
It's always a possibility, given the Post Office's stupidity on steroids, how they've handled the case.
Now, George Thomson here is being asked about the robustness of the Horizon system, and he mentions something about systemic failures. And then the KC says, I didn't mention the word systemic, basically asking him why did he, and then he referred to the Post Office as being stupidity on steroids. That was a perler, I think.
Caused by an individual accidentally switching something and messing up the system. Were you aware in 2006 of complaints about the system being messed up?
Well, I wasn't General Secretary, but nothing that I'm aware of. But what I will say is that Marlon Stoddard and Linda Willoughby were excellent at dealing with Horizon complaints, as was my PA at the time, Sharon Merriweather. So they dealt with any complaints that came through. They would speak with Rod Ismay, all the post office staff.
So Thomson is asked about these systemic failures, and somebody saying that a switch was flicked and that messed up the system. But guess who he mentions? A fellow called Rod Ismay. You might remember him from one of my previous videos.
Aggressive. You're belligerent. Thomson.
So now we have George Thomson, who's now being quizzed by Sam Steen.
Mr. Thomson, many of our clients have been watching your evidence today and are of the view that you got into the post office bed with Paula Venables and did whatever she wanted you to do. Is that a fair description of what was going on?
No, it's nonsense.
Sam Steen asked Thomson if he got into bed with Venables. I think he may mean figuratively and not literally, regards the post office, and Thomson just said nonsense.
Right. Well, could you try answering my question?
I was answering your question.
Now, what I asked was this, that you were aware under the old system that people lost their houses under the old manual system. And your evidence is that continued under the Horizon system. That's what you're saying,
Absolutely, yes.
What did you, when you were at the National Federation of Postmasters, do about that, Mr. Thomson?
So George Thomson was asked a question about what he did regards people losing their houses and being fined and all sorts under the old system, and he went off on some strange waffle. So Sam Steen has asked him again. Let's see if he can manage to answer it this time.
Well, when we were changing, for example, when we were changing to Horizon Online, I sent an email out to members reminding them that the auditors were coming, and when you were changing from the first stage of Horizon to the second stage of Horizon, there would be a full cash and stock declaration. That was me warning them to make sure it was right. And it goes back to when it was manual. We always told members, you have to make...
Well, that was always going to be a no from George Thomson, wasn't he? He was never going to answer the question. He just goes on this weird rant.
Your view and your evidence is that the contract and the interpretation of the contract by the Post Office, which is that sub-postmasters must pay up regardless of fault. Your view...
No, I never said regardless of fault.
Well,
I never said
your
that.
view is...
Don't put words in my mouth, please.
Well, I was going to put the words back into your mouth by repeating what you said, which is that it was a deterrent. The system was a deterrent, putting the onus, it seemed to be, in what you're talking about regarding audits on the sub-postmaster. Was that your view?
Having an audit, having auditors was a deterrent. Yes, it was well known. And it was... I joined the Post Office at 18, and I knew from the age of 19 that the Post Office done private prosecutions. Royal Mail still do some private prosecutions as we speak, but that's mostly against dog owners that have been warned about their dogs biting postmen. So,
just looking at George Thomson here now, and it's occurred to me that he looks like he's just pulled out of a pub. Shirt wide open, looks a right scruffy git.
Well, I took. So wait a minute. Let me finish. So I took 30,000.
We need to make progress.
So I take it.
We need to make progress, Mr. Thomson. I think even you recognise that.
So George Thomson is getting all angsty here and telling Sam Steen, wait a minute, I want to finish. I bet this fella could start a fight in an empty room, you know.
You've demonstrated, Mr. Thomson, in your evidence that you're aggressive, you're belligerent, and that your work on behalf of the Post Office, it seems, ignored the very sub-postmasters that you represented through the union of which you were a member. Do you accept that?
I dispute that, and, to be called belligerent by yourself is a bit strange.
So Sam Steen tells George Thomson that he's belligerent, is aggressive, and basically not a very nice person. And then he just goes on to go back at the KC, saying, well, that's strange coming from you, as it were.
All right.
One last question, sir.
Right, yeah.
Do you think if you'd turned your aggressiveness and belligerence on the Post Office, actually you might have done some good for sub-postmasters?
I don't accept your question. It's a nonsense.
Well, I think we've seen enough of George Thomson, as bullish as ever, I suppose. Makes you wonder what he would have been like when you had to deal with him. But anyway, please look over here for the Rod Esme video and look over there for the playlist. Thank you.